All right, it being 7 o'clock, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the January 13th, 2016 meeting of the Nottingham Planning Board. My name is Dirk Rotenhuis. I'm the chairman of the board, and I'd like to just take a minute to have those introduce themselves, go around the room.
Teresa Basso, alternate.
Robert Davies, alternate.
Charlene Anderson.
Donna Danis, Board of Selectmen rep.
Edward Beal. Dirk Rotenhuis.
John Moran.
Gary Anderson.
Paul Colby, Code Administrator.
And remember, Susan Mooney is not here tonight, so in her place we seat Mr. Davies. So he will be a full participating member with voting rights. Teresa Bascom is the alternate, has all rights except voting. So we do have a number of things on the agenda, so we'll try and move through them as diligently as possible. We do cover the public hearings first, so we will have those. And then afterwards, there's a couple of items, business items that we want to go through. And we'll handle those in order. So the first meeting here, first hearing is case P15008 LLA, and it's an application for a lot line adjustment between map 58 lot 4 subdivision or sublot 10 and sublot 11, and that's within the Rocky Hill subdivision. And we have received the application. The application was reviewed, so we would have to accept the application first. Paul, do you have any input on the application?
Yeah, I know that you and I both reviewed it, application and all the documents, and payment we've received in full, so we recommend acceptance of the application.
Hearing that, I'd entertain a motion for acceptance.
Okay, sorry, go. I'll make a motion to accept case number P15-008-LLA as complete.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for the acceptance. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Unanimous. I will now open the public hearing and allow the applicant to come and at least talk to the application itself, provide the board a little bit of explanation, background on the lot line adjustment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Please state your name and
For the record, my name is Peter Landry, Landry Survey. To my right is Paul Famulari, and in attendance is Lou Sara. He's the affected abutter who's doing the lot line adjustment. As you can see, this again, Rocky Hill Road. In front of you, you've got the plans. You'll see we've got number 23, house 23 and house 21 under construction. They're looking to adjust the common lot line between those two parcels. Was a concrete retaining wall constructed on dwelling number 23's property over the lot line, and the two landowners are willing to adjust, do equal area exchange. Looks like around 1,055 square feet to incorporate the retaining wall on Paul's lot. The frontages are not affected. Again, the lot line between the two lots is what changes. That's it.
so
I
this
guess-
is,
I know
Yeah.
you mentioned this is solely for the purpose to encompass that retaining wall.
Yeah, that's it, yes.
Mr. Lambert, do you know the distance between the dwelling number 21 that's under construction and the proposed new lot line, the minimum distance there?
Do I know what the minimum distance?
Looks like it
I
might be
believe it's,
pretty tight.
The minimum distance according to your rules is 25 feet.
Yep. So that, this,
Oh, well, I don't have my scale on me
It'll be
now, but
greater
this,
than
it's,
25
I
feet?
think if scale's close to 30, doesn't it? 35?
It'd be close, looking at that,
I don't have, does anyone have a scale?
looking at the line at the bottom where before it was about 40 feet.
Well, I'm not sure what that exact distance is, but it's greater than 25.
It's a little over 30 feet by a rough scale.
any questions from the board or the applicant before I open the public hearing for anybody else?
One other question I had, and Paul, I know we, kinda asked this before, but lot line adjustments technically are considered a subdivision. I know it's a simple lot line adjustment, but normally re-subdivision of a lot isn't allowed within 4 years. So do we get into a gray area with this, where we have to address that and provide like a waiver or anything, or?
Well, we're not creating a new lot. We're starting with 2 lots, each have a certain acreage, and at the end of the day, both them lots are gonna have the same exact acreage. We're just adjusting a line, so.
Yeah, it's not a
not a
subdivision.
true subdivision.
It's, even though it goes through our subdivision process, it's termed differently with the lot line adjustment.
Right.
So it's not creating a new lot or creating, it's not a creation of any new lots.
Yeah, the legal, I believe on it though, Jeremy, is that it's considered a subdivision, lot line adjustments, even if you're not creating another lot, it's considered a subdivision, but I understand this is a very minor, no change in size or anything like that, just simple land swap to, correct an issue.
And I've seen it, that just as an example, a lot of times, prior to construction or during construction, there are changes that happen that facilitate the need of removing lot lines or something like that. So if they put the road in and shifts over a bit, then some of that can be adjusted, but not turned as a new subdivision. I'm gonna open it up for public hearing. I think I already did, but I'd like to see if there's any anyone from the public that would like to speak for this application. Anyone in the public would like to speak against the application? Anyone in the public want to speak at all about the application? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board's discretion to ask some more questions, or otherwise I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the lot line adjustment for case number 15-008 LLA as planned.
It's a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? None, we'll raise the vote. Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes unanimous.
We do have the Mylar, the bounds have been set, I checked them today, so at the end of the meeting, we've got the Mylar and plans assigned, just leave them right there, Pete, yeah.
Thank you.
So now we have our public hearing on the zoning ordinance changes. So the public meeting on the zoning ordinance changes is based on, which there are a couple of copies in the back of the room regarding what the changes are, but the ordinance is being amended for clarification of the definition section. So there were some definitions that were omitted, changed, and added to the zoning ordinance. And this is the time where we would hear public input on those changes. So with that, I'd open the public hearing if we have anybody that would like to speak to these, changes. Please come forward, state your name, and, let us know your comments. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. And, that would be the only public hearing we would need
Unless,
to have.
unless the membership here tonight sees any changes, drastic changes we need to make. I mean, we've gone over this a number of times, so, as the chairman said, this would be the only public hearing. We've already got the warrant typed and submitted, so we just need an official vote to move this forward. It'll be referenced on the warrant as recommended, whatever the vote is by the planning board.
So I would entertain a motion to, have these definitions, to the zoning ordinance placed on the ballot as noted here. Unless there's changes or revisions.
So just for clarification from my understanding, so is on the ballot, is it gonna say that we're omitting the animal feedlot and the campground?
Yep.
And changing the definitions of, a butter, building inspector, certified source science,
Yeah.
it's all the way down to stream?
Yes, I'm gonna try to find, Joanna had typed it up before she went on maternity leave. Just give me a second.
Derek, if this was voted down by the board tonight, it would still go on the ballot, but not with approval of the planning board?
Correct.
No, it wouldn't go on the ballot.
Oh, wouldn't?
No, because it's your ordinance. You're the one that's proposed it. So, yeah.
No? Stand correct.
The only time that would happen, Buzz, if we had a citizen's petition to do
If it was a
zoning
citizen's,
change.
yes.
Then you guys would vote yea or nay to support it, and
Approve or
then,
not approve.
yeah, I'm not sure where she filed it, and I'll apologize for
I
that.
think the one thing that we'll need to do is do some kind of communication to the community about, like,
Why?
why, so they realize that, okay, this is.
Yeah, I think, I agree, Charlene, I think in, the description that's gonna be in the warrant should have
Should
some
have,
language
yeah.
into the background of this.
Yeah, does it, Paul, does it have some kind
That's,
of, I don't
see, when
know,
she left for maternity leave, that's when I got laid up in the hospital for a while, so I never saw the final. That's what I'm looking for.
That's not necessarily what we're voting on.
Right, but I will get that to you as soon as, I will get that to everybody, and then we'll go from there. There's a legal thing, there's what has to be there, and,
yeah, I forget if you can put something like a descriptor in,
yeah.
I don't know that descriptors usually go on like the ballot, cause this will be on the ballot.
Why can't we have like a, information board or something for the public?
Well, we'll post,
Post it on the website for people
Yeah,
to
we
read.
need to do some
we'll
kind
do
of
that,
communication.
and the day of elections, we'll post wherever Sandy allows us to have, she always blocks out a space for me, so the new language is on the board.
We could even put something in each of the voting booths.
Nope,
No, we can't do that.
can't do that, that's
Can't do
illegal.
that. No,
No, for the information on this?
no,
Okay,
no,
then we can't do that.
no.
Be nice if you could, but I'm not saying how to vote, just information on it.
Newsletter deadline is passed.
I think the
don't we have
news,
a net-
I think
don't
the
we have another
newsletter
newsletter.
might be that, I know Sue submitted some stuff.
Yeah, I don't think we
it's-
Yeah, I think she talked a
missed the
little bit about it
newsletter.
in the newsletter, I can't remember. I just can't find it right now, but I'll get that to everybody.
We can certainly leverage the social media channels as well. Yeah.
Alright, so we'll just have to do it
Yeah, I know we've talked about it a bunch
we
of
could do,
times.
we could write something up you know, quickly too, and post in liars, and, you know, the typical liars and Devon's in the post office, and
Yeah,
all the multiple Nottingham Facebook pages.
yeah.
Yeah, and for those, for the public that is watching, these zoning changes are made just really to clarify the definitions, and add some definitions that weren't there, as well as to be consistent with the subdivision regulations and our zoning ordinances. So they have the same language in both of them.
So here's the key question, who's gonna write up a brief paragraph or two?
You want me to get a hold of Sue to have her do it? See if she'll do it? She's the one that usually writes all our,
She's the one who's not here, so that works for everyone.
I think she's secretary assigned to her.
yeah, I gotta say, that's secretary, that's her duty, right? Yeah.
Now moved on.
Paul, if she feels overwhelmed, let me know, and I'll do it, but.
Yeah, I will email her in the morning, so. Mr. Chairman, you still need a vote.
Oh,
We still need a vote.
We still need a motion too, right?
Right, you still need a
Still need
motion, yeah,
And we need
Okay.
a vote.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we move forward with the amended zoning ordinance definition changes as discussed for the town ballot.
Second.
Motion second, any more discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. So that's all of the public hearings we had this evening. We are gonna move into our public meeting piece of this. So, the first item is to discuss impact fees for recreation, school board, rec department, Marston committee. So we've got some people here regarding the impact fees. Not sure where to start with this. I guess, how would if I just start out by explaining what impact fees are in the community and why we have them currently? And the condition we're in right now, as far as trying to get those updated. And the town of Nottingham imposes an impact fee on new development. Primarily, that's been all residential housing. And that fee is imposed to help offset capital costs in other locations of the community. And right now, those areas are designated only with school and the fire department. Those are the only two departments or agencies or organizations that impact fees that are assessed can go to. And these have been collected since 2012.
Correct.
The town voted for impact to have impact fees assessed. They voted in 2011, and then it was put into place 2012. And just for relevancy, their current impact fees for a single-family detached home is $4,887. And that is split between the school and the fire department. The school gets $4,220, and the fire department gets $667 of that. And that impact fee is assessed at the time of either subdivision or building permit. And Paul has informed me that typically we collect that impact fee when the building permit is applied for. So for each individual residential property, the impact fee is collected. That is put into an escrow account that the town manages, very similar to a lot of other accounts the town manages, that's outside the normal capital improvement. And these are funds that can be used for only the impacts, so things that are new. So once that house is placed, it's now impacting not something that was in the past, but it is something in the future. because those will be additional children, as well as additional, needs for fire. So it cannot be used for renovation of something that was existing prior to. There's a number of different stipulations, but primarily the use should be for something that is new. New installation needed for that additional population coming in. Now, the impact fees need to be used within a 6-year period from collection. The town has used all of the fire funds to this point. The school has not used any of the funds that have been collected. And so the 6-year window will be up, it's upcoming in maybe a year and a half. So we're approaching that time frame where if there's some monies that hasn't been used over that period of 6 years, then by the RSA, we need to refund that money to the property owner, and that would be to the current owner of that property that it was assessed. So we had discussed many times over the past few meetings of what are we doing with the impact fees, and in order to move past kind of this, every 5 years, I think, is when we need to reassess the assessment of that $4,887. So in order to come up with that number, an assessment was done by a professional who went through and decided, through the school and through the fire station, what those impacts in our community are. It's different in every separate community that has impact fees, and there's a lot throughout New Hampshire that does have impact fees. So we are trying to determine how much is it to redo the assessment, which we now have an estimate from the professional who did the original time to provide us the update to that, and that's for the school and the fire. And then there was the decision or discussion about is there a need for impact fees for recreation. So we wanted to have that discussion tonight and be able to determine whether we would then need another evaluation to bring more impacts in for recreation, because there currently is none. I'll let the recreation department director probably describe it a little bit better than myself. That's kind of where we are. We certainly don't want to, I think as the planning board, we're the ones collecting these fees, we're the one administering the fees. We certainly want those fees to be utilized. So the school board, we've requested that they provide us the capital plan, at least have some ideas of what it could be used for. They have a representative here too, so I think that's going to be good. Maybe if we can hear from both recreation and the school about what we are looking for. What do we need? Are there new expenditures anticipated, and really, is there a need for impact fees? That's my long summary. Sorry. Does the board have, you guys were in on these meetings, is there any other details I may have left out that might be helpful?
Is there a representative from the fire department here tonight?
Is there a representative from the fire department here tonight?
They were not invited because we weren't discussing their portion of it.
They're pretty good
They're
consumers of
using
the
it, and
impact
they've got
fee.
the bond, so
Right, but, and the bond goes out for the next 5-year span?
more than that.
Or I think we're
Okay,
at a fifth.
Yeah,
so nothing's gonna change with it?
no.
And it was understanding that, I think the other comment was that they weren't planning on adding anything to the CIP.
Right.
The purchases they were planning were gonna be bonded right out, not part of the CIP.
Yeah, we got, I think maybe it was the last meeting.
That was it. I just wanted to make sure the public was clear on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Tonight's focus is mainly on if we're gonna add in fees for recreation.
So I think
They have the study done.
the summary was great, just a couple other things. So the impact fees are also tied directly to the capital improvement plan. You can't my understanding is you can't assess the impact fees without having it justified in a CIP. And that is part of what the planner would use to help us come up with a number. And also the original impact fee committee, subcommittee, let us know that it was part of the long-term plan to bring in recreation and possibly police, for impact fees, or to have it looked at in the future. At this time, the police have indicated that they don't have any major expenditures coming up, so there's no growth there that we can use this for, so, that's why, while we're reassessing the school and the fire, it's a perfect time to, also look at the rec side, especially with some of the, items we have in town moving forward. So it's one of those few times where our board gets to work jointly with other boards and, rely on their information to kind of move ahead and try to help each other out.
So to assist the planning board members with the discussion tonight, in your packets, you're gonna find the New Hampshire listens, just a portion of that plan. It's the key findings concerning the Marston project. You're gonna, the next group is the worksheets from the Recreation Department for CIP. There's maps, one showing the project in its completion. And I know these maps have changed a little bit in the last week. And then the second map is a proposed phase 1. And then you'll have the, I think you've got the financial breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, I would
And the
just,
school, the last part is the school CIP worksheets. Yep.
I would just caveat this with, this is not a completed project. This is a grand vision of what potential opportunity we have over at Marston property. So I just, keep that in mind.
Yeah, this is currently under plan development, under concept of plan development, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Concept
I see
is
that
good.
Financially, Director Steve said we had some involvement in this area. Bits and pieces of the financial stuff as I look through this. So, are you or Janet or somebody gonna be able to walk us through that so we can get a feel for, how that's spread out?
Well, so I think what would be beneficial is, and, Janet, I'll, defer to you to, walk through kind of like the grand vision, and then what we initially discussed as a potential phase 1 with, Ironwood and CMA, the two, groups that we're working with. I'm not real comfortable going into the numbers that are here, because, those aren't real numbers in my mind, and correct me if you disagree, Janet, but this is kind of like the first pass numbers that they came out to us with for phase 1. Committee met last night and said, we wanna sharpen the pencil on some of those, and, and potentially scale back phase 1 to the point of maybe a phase 0.5. So I don't know that there's a whole lot of value in spending any time on those specific numbers. Do you agree?
Excuse me, Janet, you just wanna come up so we can get you on the mic? Thanks.
Just want to backtrack just a little bit real quick. I was on the impact fee committee, 2008, 9, 10 or so. And one of the reasons that recreation was not included was because we didn't have any sort of a plan, which was why the 10-year plan was then done, which was then why it ended up in the CIP. There was certain steps that had to be done. Mm-hmm. The 10-year plan was completed in around 2011, which was after the vote and other things happened. And then I know that I sent the information on the 10-year plan to Bruce Mayberry. So how it all went after that. But I did want you to understand why we had to do the 10-year plan in order to get it to the CIP, which in order to get it to the impact fees. And here we are, and also working with Marston. And yes, when we were talking last night, we were talking about trying to see phase 1, but not even really think that phase one was even possible for maybe 3 or 4 different parts of phase one even. And definitely in terms of, we didn't even really talk too much about fundraising, but if we start the first part of it, then other things will be able to follow from there because of the, you know, excitement or whatever about the parcel.
So question, the CIPs that we have in front of us, the worksheets, so are these pretty much right now just really estimates based off of what Ironwood gave you, or?
I would have to revisit the ones,
Actually, no, the ones that they have in their packets, Chris told me today, that's the ones you guys did back in
Yeah, they predate,
August.
they were
In
done.
August.
they
So
were done
that was
this
to,
year.
so
that
they
was
could
prior
get
to
them
Ironwood.
into the CIP committee
them
by the
into the
deadline,
CIP.
right.
I mean, there's some synergy there, there's some of the same types of, you know, elements like ball fields and stuff like that, but these have not been reconciled with
Yeah.
that.
So I think, I'm sorry.
I think regardless of costs that are in this, the goal for this meeting really is to assess and justify that there is new capital improvements,
Right.
whether it's Marston property or not.
Yeah,
It's just a matter of whether there's justifiable, improvements moving forward to get an impact fee put
Yeah.
in place. That's really what that's for.
So one thought that I had was, you know, for Bruce Mayberry, who would be the professional planner that's gonna look at the study, if we say, yes, we want to have him do that study on recreation, I think the closer you can get to what this really looks like, the better he's gonna be able to do.
As well as some
assessments.
budgetary figures, cause he's gonna need that.
Because he's gonna
yeah,
gonna
no,
look at that timeline kind of thing is gonna be really important with him. And that's gonna be really important with us, with looking at
Yep.
the impact fees.
Yep.
As Dirk had kind of stated how these work.
Yeah, we actually started talking last night from the perspective, not of like phase one, phase two, phase whatever, but more from the perspective of year one, year two, year three, right? Because that first phase could occur over 3 years,
Correct.
right? So we are working towards trying to build that
Yeah.
with them.
And with Ironwood, so I know the back we had emailed to us indicate there was a timeline on that, for them to come back and have a public hearing and such. So do we know when, I know you said this is kind of like version 0.5, so do we know when we might get to version 1? Will it be,
We are trying to, we came up with a number last night that we said we thought we would be comfortable with putting forward this year. And so we have asked them to go back to this and see what could be accomplished in that number. They're coming back to us on Friday with that, and we'll be presenting it to the Board of Selectmen on Monday night.
that keeps us in line with
Yeah.
being able to work with Bruce, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
We're trying to keep.
cause we've added the money for the study to add rec into our budget already. And depending on what the discussion goes in the next few weeks,
And I think there's 12 months that he has to work on it. So, you know, if he starts it in the fall, that gives,
right, because
gives
there's no
time.
way
It's
we're gonna
not-
get it on this year's warrant anyways. It'll be on the warrant for
Right.
2017.
right,
And we're ahead of time anyway
Right.
with the
Yeah.
review.
Yep.
And that's the other thing I wanna make clear, that any impact fees, in addition, is gonna go on a town warrant and be voted by the public,
Correct.
so.
Yep.
We're not assessing new impact fees.
Are we clear on that? That's where I'm not clear. 'Cause-
Where, if we, not the dollar figure,
Right.
the ad, because we vote, the townspeople voted in back in 2011 to put in for a school in the fire department. So we're adding, whatever other department we add, still would go on the ballot at town meeting. The earliest will be 2017. If that's accepted by the citizens, Bruce will recommend what that figure is going to be. And then this board will hold a public hearing on the figure, like we did on the zoning changes tonight, and we move forward.
Yeah,
Right. So you're looking at the earliest of really June or July of 2017 to collect monies. In reality, that's the time frame.
Okay.
why do you say that?
Because he's gonna have it ready for the 2017 ballot.
Right, so that's
So the
March.
earliest we're going to, you can't, we don't conduct business in March by your bylaws, so it would be the April.
So there
see.
has to be a public hearing after town meeting that's
Right,
on
the
the
planning
actual
board,
fee,
the
on the
town- If
actual
the
amount.
citizens vote to add any department onto the two we already have, the school district and the fire department, that's a town vote. The monetary figure that's assigned to that impact fee is set by this board. You'll hold a regular public hearing, so you're looking at April, and what we did last time is we said July 1st we'll start collecting.
I think we should also review the language that was put before the townspeople on that warrant article, because as Ed just questioned, I questioned if we, for the rec, if we have to go before the townspeople.
I'm basing on what Bruce told me a month ago.
Yeah, but did Bruce see the language of the warrant article?
He's the one that wrote it for us. So,
Well, I'll go back and look at it.
yeah, that's fine.
I mean, we'll have to defer to
I
the
want- yeah,
professional to
yeah.
tell us what that is, and then we'll make that.
Well, just to be, because my understanding is they approved the planning board doing the impact fees, so.
That's how the RSA reads too, but yeah, we'd have to look at exactly what our warrant article said, but we have time, which is good.
Yeah.
So I guess we'd like to hear from
And we still have a public hearing.
Recreation Director that there is things, you know, on the Marston property that would be planned to utilize impact fees.
Based on, it depends on what the impact fees can be used for, but we have a lot of projects that are, we're looking at for this property, including a multi-use field, softball field. We don't have a softball field in this town at all. There isn't one anywhere, so that is, we've obviously had girls playing softball now, for years. And there's a baseball Little League field, a baseball field. In the future, hopefully a track, and another multi-purpose field maybe. Tennis courts, again, that would be very far in the future, and basketball, outdoor basketball court. A pavilion, that would be closer to the future, I mean, closer than, it would be closer.
And a track for certain.
Than a track. It was thought that we would be able to, generate some revenue from a pavilion by rental of the pavilion. And obviously parking and hiking trails and community gardens. Again, hiking trails and community gardens would be done earlier, maybe even in phase 1, which could be in the next 3 years. So as long as any of those could be, the impact fees can be used for any of that. We have seen a increase in children's activities and the number of kids participating in sports. As far as the number of kids in town, that's hard to guess. I mean, I know that we talked about school numbers and that the school figures are somewhat the same, but it doesn't also take into account some of the other avenues that, homeschooling and charter schools. So I'm not sure entirely about all of the figures as far as the number of children increasing, but the number of people in town is increasing, and that is definitely, have more requests for hiking trails and places to cross-country ski and activities, active things outdoor.
You may see increases in, like, the summer for people that aren't in our town for the school, but come into town for vacation, homes and such, which could possibly utilize, correct? So I think, to my knowledge, the impact fees could be used, since this is all completely new, to be able to be utilized for all of it. And impact fees are a proportional share, so it's not, like this, even the school portion, it's not that, say this is gonna be $1 million project, we then divide 1 million by, you know, whatever we think the number of units is gonna be that are coming into town, and it's an even number like that. It's not, it's a proportional share based on our current population's, use of it, and then what we would need for future as well, so.
Yeah, and that's a number we don't know, and that's why we have the study done, by a professional that tells us what that proportion would be, or what the utilization for our town would be. As I said, the school, you know, has $4,200 out of the 48 that we collect, so there's $600 that goes to the fire station. The school has more, you know, considerably more. The recreation department would be probably less than what the fire would be. So it's less than $600 for the impact fee, but what that is, that's why the study, and that's really the reason why we're meeting, is we wanna, make sure that the board would like to move forward with a recreation study or not, and cause there's costs involved with having that study done. And if there's valid things that would be appropriate for, impact fees, and I think there's, my opinion is, you know, if there's a lot of things going into a new site, then those should be eligible for impact fees.
Well, and I think that it's, got something for every age. We're, on the hiking trails, we're talking about, you know, the elderly and making sure that we have benches so that they can sit as they, you know, if they have to, going around, that we're trying to, sections of it is going to make sure that it's totally flat and accessible for wheelchairs, and other, you know, we were even talking about use by horses on some of them, and whether or not we can make that happen. So there's a lot that we're looking for on those trails specifically. And even the fields that we're looking at, we're hoping that we could bring tournaments eventually when we get the fields built. But even just using the multi-purpose field, if it doesn't even have the, we were talking in last night about just creating a multi-purpose field with none of the baseball field, anything yet. So that could be used even just when for Lord knows what.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the considerations of what do you do year one, what do you do year two, you know, to,
I think it would be a good idea, then people would get to that property to understand it and see it, and, you know, start getting.
And the quicker you can nail that down, the quicker it's gonna be able to help Bruce decide
I
what this is.
understand, yeah, I understand.
And have you
Yeah.
guys reviewed this with, have you guys reviewed what Ironwood sent to you to, as far as what they laid out and proposed?
In terms of, are we happy with the design?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
questions and.
Yeah, I mean, in generally, we are all very pleased with the way that, you know, they put it together. It reflects, you know, what we asked them to do. It reflects the major things that came out of the New Hampshire Listens session. There are still some questions. We do have a couple of questions with regards to wetlands in particular, that we need to talk about and explore, but as a design, yes, we're happy with that.
And then have you talked about, as a committee, have you talked about, like, the fundraising efforts that could be?
We haven't done that yet. That is, so one of the.
We've done it a little bit.
We've done it a little,
We
yes.
know what's gonna happen, we just don't have exactly how we're gonna get to what comes first.
Right, and one of the reasons we went with Ironwood was because when they came in and with their proposal, they specifically flagged that they have a lot of experience going after grants and identifying other sources of funding. So that was attractive to us. There is, moving forward, so this committee was set up as an exploratory committee by the Board of Selectmen. The charter of the committee was to come back to the Board of Selectmen with a recommendation for use of the property. Having this design and, you know, some initial recommendations for how this project may get initiated and started and kind of potential for year by year, most of the committee members believe that that fulfills our responsibility and charter as outlaid by the Board of Selectmen. The question becomes then, does it become the responsibility of a new committee? Does it become the responsibility of a building committee? do we, form a recreation commission or a recreation committee that becomes the oversight of this and other things? So those are some questions that are out there that will be addressed as well.
So the Board of Selectmen have agreed to use the Marston project, property as and for recreation.
The Board of Selectmen approved for the Marston Property Exploratory Committee to engage with Ironwood and CMA in the design of a potential recreation facility at Marston.
But didn't the state give us the property, or?
The state,
There's language in there for community
for community use.
use.
For public use, is
public
the actual
use.
term, public use.
Meaning we couldn't turn around and sell it, right?
But there's also restrictions to what you can.
I think that was pretty much the language. I don't think there was anything greater than that. But,
Okay, well, it's not really part of what we're
Yeah.
talking about tonight, but,
Well, in order to get this to Bruce Mayberry and allocate money, from the impact fees, doesn't the Board of Selectmen have to approve this going forward as using it for recreational purposes and this purpose?
the Board of Selectmen,
We can't put money to the recreation fund if we don't have something approved saying that this is the future way we're gonna go with this property, if we don't have that set in stone already, right?
I think we can, because there's already implemented a CIP, there's implemented a master plan. The study will be, are there things out there that new things could be installed or bought or purchased or the money for? It doesn't have to be this, could be something else.
But if it's something else and it's not recreational, we're putting money.
The worst,
it's also procedural though, in my mind,
Again,
John.
I'm just trying to be
I mean, worst case,
vocal and
the
clear
worst
for
case,
people that
John,
might be listening, that
worst
it's-
case scenario is, we pay for the study, we start collecting impact fees, and if the citizens vote down any recommendations to do anything on the property,
because that's what's gonna happen.
then we
Well,
would
that's
return
not
the
gonna-
impact fees just like we would for any other.
The study is still gonna would say potentially that there is a need for impact fees for recreation to cover additional people coming in.
Did these
Regardless whether this was here or not.
So, I mean, these worksheets have been submitted to the CIP committee, so have they been built into the CIP
Well, I
plan?
mean, this plan, we haven't.
No, these worksheets that you filled out in August.
Worksheets that were filled out in August.
Right, again, these, the CIP, this is all living document, none of these, you know, what happens in 2018 might change from today, it's just a future.
Yep.
So this money's not set or even spent or ready to
Right,
know
but
yet,
it's in the
but
plan,
it's.
right?
It hasn't been plugged into the current CIP that we're working on right now because we were waiting to see how this plays out
Oh,
with
okay.
Ironwood.
Okay,
But
so.
yeah, but worst case,
So
we-
then what's in the current plan for recreation?
I don't believe we've filled out those lines yet, right, John? I'm trying to remember what's there.
I didn't bring that information, which
I think I have it.
Is the van, the replacement of the van.
yeah.
But is there? And again, we have till March to make a decision on going forward or not, so it's not like,
Yeah, we don't have to make that decision
Tonight,
tonight.
absolutely not.
At all. In fact, this is really just for
This is
decision-making. We
fact
don't
finding,
have to
just
take
to give you more information, to be able to make decisions. And the other thing is, once, and it kinda goes back to what you were saying earlier, John, once if we have the study done, Bruce is gonna come up with that figure that will add to the current impact fee. It'll give them a guideline, a rough guideline is, they know, like, we had 31 new houses in 2015, so, you know, let's say we have 25 next year times whatever that
X
amount
amount of
is.
dollars, correct.
Then when they go to budget, they already know they've got a certain amount of money.
Right.
I think the other thing we're trying to do as a board too is trying to get all this to Bruce Mayberry at the same time for the fire review, the school review, and this, if we, you know, if we add it to it, or if we consider it, just so that,
he's working on
yes,
this
and
at once.
if he comes in to meet with us, you know,
Yeah,
we can cover all the bases at once instead of having to pay him,
Yeah.
to come down again.
Because a lot of, some of the data gathering he's gonna get for this proposal is, he's gonna have to use for the school and the fire station, so
Right.
it's actually saving us money in the long
Yeah.
run.
Right.
I have a question for you, Janet. If people say no, for whatever reason, for the Marston property being used for any of this, your hands are then tied for a lot of the projects you wanna do, aren't they? As far as ball fields and stuff, because there would be no place for you to put them, or to utilize them. I mean, the garden and all of that, so a lot of your projections totally depend on being used at the Marston property, from what I was seeing on your CIPs, is that correct?
Most likely.
Yeah, that's what I was.
well,
thinking.
yeah, I mean, no means no, right?
Well, no, but I meant, as far as for capital improvement, because the ball fields that are out here, it doesn't say for ball field, it says ball field
For
on Marston
Marston.
property. So you wouldn't be able to use the monies to repair, to fix these, because they're not new. It would be, is the same thing as the schools, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to know, to clarify that for
But
you.
I think for us, though, it's not necessarily the case. Like, for example, when the school CIP impact fee was assessed, it was based on a CIP plan of a $4 million expansion, I think it was. So that can fall through, but there could still be a need. So even though it didn't happen at that time, it could come back up, and we could still collect the fees, we could still hold on to them for the period of time. Or, say Marston gets shot down, and, or if we decide that, the town decides that maybe this would be better off in a different location in town. Since the money's collected for recreation, it could be used for that as long as it was within.
New.
New,
Be
correct,
new.
yeah.
And that's exactly why we have to review it every 5 years. Just exactly what happened with the school.
And again, that's why the communication between us and the different departments and boards in town is crucial in the CIP interaction.
You may wanna just kind of revise the worksheets a little bit to say, for example, Marston property or whatever it's called, on land, for example.
Yeah, I mean, the CIP, those worksheets fuel the CIP spreadsheet, which isn't a commitment or even a budget, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's a,
Yep.
Okay, well, I think we've, gone through, and gotten as much information, I think, tonight we will for recreation. I think we'd
Yeah,
like to
I
move on
think
to school.
the key is Donna's the liaison to just keep us.
Yeah.
Once,
yep,
so that we can decide by
yeah, yeah.
And you're always welcome to come in
Yeah.
and talk to us too, if you need information from us or
You wanna
anything.
come see us?
It's always nice to have visitors.
Yeah, I just wanna, mention that a couple other folks from the Marston Property Chat and, Tom Sweeney are here as well. They've been, on the Marston Property, Committee as well, and the committee's been doing, a lot of good, hard work. And, I think, I'm appreciative of all the hard work that everybody's been doing, because we've got this grand vision, but nobody wants to spend money willy-nilly. So we're working really hard to make sure that it's pragmatic and affordable.
I think it's a great vision for the future.
Well, in the New Hampshire Listens meeting that we had, there were over 100 people, which,
That's a huge turnout
it's
for
always
this
hard to
town.
get people to come to any meeting, so we had over
Right.
100 people, and there was
It's a
a lot
huge
of
turnout.
conversation about all of the, things, and we, with the vision that we have there, we've incorporated as many as we could, on that piece of property. And, gone to as many different age levels and tried to touch on as many parts of the population within the town of Nottingham that we can.
It's a great positive thing, so thank you for your help and time.
Trying to keep people healthy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Janet.
Thank you, Janet.
Thanks, Janet.
Thank you, Jim.
So the other component of this is the school piece, and I know there's members here, and it would be great if we heard from you. I think that the question is, there's unused funding, and we're coming to a point, please come up if you would like, and
Yeah, please.
introduce yourselves, that'd be great.
Hi, I'm Jackie Snow. I'm Susan Levinson.
Great. So, we've had kind of discussions, I know, Jackie, you've been here, and have heard at least before, that there's funds that we've been collecting in the impact fees, that are currently unused. We're getting to a end of that cycle of, collection on them, and would like to make sure going forward that those funds are being utilized, or can be utilized, and, you know, whether we continue collecting those funds, you know, for the betterment, of the school in Nottingham. I mean, that's primarily what that's for. I think the question that I have, and I would think the board has, is, are there any upcoming projects that could utilize this? Is there anything in your upcoming budgets that could utilize, can we expect a request for that funding?
I think at this time, in terms of our CIP, from the last time that we came and talked with you, we haven't identified a lot of projects. We're still really relying on legal to guide us as to exactly what they can be used for. We don't think we can use them for fields, but we may have some work internally at the school, because we're expanding kindergarten, and that's one question that we have coming up. And it is in our CIP, and it's the potential for full-day kindergarten. It's going to be a community discussion, and if we do pursue something like that, we would have to add some space. And the question now is, would that space be, it would be a modular unit, but how permanent would it be? It would be on a slab and that kind of thing. We have, at this point, not added that $4.6 million addition at this time. And we are looking though at our enrollment, and Jackie had some numbers we just put out into our newsletter. We are at our second highest in the last
Between homeschoolers and K-3, it looks like we're our second highest peak since 1996. But things have been more steady, perhaps not the enrollment that folks thought many years ago when the new school, or the addition to the school was proposed. I think the theme of our CIP is more repair and renovations, and we're not sure that if the impact fees can be used for that. So for instance, the roofs, adding new insulation or fixing the flat roof, the parking lot needs repaving. For instance, the playground needs to be repaired, but also expanded. Is that something that impact fees can be used for? Certainly the line is there for the portables or the modulars for either world language or full-day kindergarten, depending on administration and the goals of the community.
Based on our community feedback, we have heard many times that foreign language is something they would like. So we've got that on the radar, and we'll be talking about that. The full-day kindergarten is something that is a possibility because of new guidelines and so forth for the kids of that age, for their skill set. It's something that's becoming, I think 75% of the schools in the state do implement it at this time. So it's a question of how we get the building to accept all of that.
One question that I had, and maybe it was already asked, and I apologize if it was the last time you were here, I wasn't here. Has there been any discussion at the school level as far as the use of the school using this the Marston project?
We have had a member on the Marston committee, and I've gone to the last four and kind of filled in for her. And the overall scale does include a 90-foot baseball field. That's a future phase. Currently, the school has committed to maintaining the backfield, the soccer field that we have in the very back, and because that's something, pretty much all of our assets are community shared, the gym and so forth, so we try to maintain that and make it sure it's usable. But we're maintaining that backfield, and Donna can interrupt me anytime you think I'm going off track here, but that's our commitment for the whole community piece right now. Our very front field up by the road, it doesn't sound as though, it's got some rocks in it. We use it for parking sometimes when there are large events at the school. and it's not large enough. So that really hasn't been used for much. I think a little bit for the younger kids because it's smaller. But the 90-foot baseball field is in the Marston plan in future phases, and it would replace the one that's out here that the school currently buses students to use for our team.
Because one of our thoughts is, if the school is gonna use that Marston project, then some of those impact fees that the school gets could be applied towards that project as well. So if we know that, then we can justify that use.
The school did receive a legal opinion from their lawyer on whether or not he thought that could be done that way, because I'd love to use some of that from Marston if it's feasible. His legal opinion was that it was not.
He didn't think we could use it for fields. He thought it had to be capital improvements, and we had taken his legal opinion and distributed it here.
Well, how did you ask the question? The attorney.
Mr. Rooning, our assistant superintendent, asked the question, the way the board had posed it, what specifically can we use these impact fees for? And he looked at the language on the warrant, he looked at our zoning and so forth, and he felt that it was for capital improvements, and he didn't rule it out. I know our principal says in Epping they did it, and they were able to use it, so it sounds like there's some conversation to be had, and maybe we get real specific about, we're adding this.
I think if he doesn't understand the Marston project and that the school is looking at
Right,
using
within
that, then, so I think, the way that the question was
Frame it.
asked to the attorney,
And if you read,
That is a capital improvement.
right,
if
it
you
is.
read Bruce's original study, it says impact fees, and this is the school study, impact fees supported by this report would be applied to the capital cost of K-8 public schools facilities. You use fields, that is a facility that you use. So under the definition, and our land use lawyer says it can be used for that.
Okay.
So
So we could talk to him again and frame it in a more narrow.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of him understanding the Marston project, where that's new, and as Ed had said, I think almost all of it can go to that project, because everything is new, and then the public use of that land, that stipulation, so.
can you bring a check next meeting, Sue?
Currently, in the escrow accounts we've set up for impact fees, there is $168,827 in the school.
Yeah.
Dedicated for school use.
The other thing I want to point out though, too, though, Sue, is that, the softball field is the field that's in the front at the school, right? There's no softball field at all, right? And yet we
No,
do
I
have
think
girls who play softball.
I think the younger, isn't that the case, the younger kids from association use that?
The younger kids do. And the softball, the girls softball does play on fields in town, but there's no legal softball field in this town.
And you have softball in the school.
At Marston, and the school team plays on basically illegal type fields for what they are, but there is one planned at Marston, and the school would be using.
So to that point, one of the things that
Be an
we've,
expansion.
one of the things that we've talked about in that initial phase is a softball field. So that could be a potential use sooner rather than later, right?
That piece fits into the mixed-use,
Yes,
piece, which would be phase 0.5.
Exactly.
In a few years.
Yeah, isn't that top part?
Creation, yeah.
Does that open us up to any kind of liability? I understand, I know at the college level, at least the collegiate level, it's, you have to have proportionate teams. So like, for example, you can't just have 30 male sports teams and 2 female sports teams. You have to have a balanced offering. I don't know if that's the same at,
Well, we do it at the
the
school,
K-8
and
level.
the teams that we offer, we have teams for each. And then we have the
That Title IX ruling flows from the collegiate level right through the elementary school level.
And they've got it, it's just that they're not playing on the regulation field.
They have a softball team currently.
We do
Yeah.
have a girls softball
They're
team,
just not playing on the right field.
and we have track that's open to both.
yeah.
So in looking at the CIPs that you've presented, I think the impact fees could be applied to the modular classroom buildings and to the emergency generator.
Those would be the only
And
two.
with the modular section, I don't know if the right area was marked. Currently, it's checked off as replace or repair existing facilities, but it seems like it
Right.
should be provide new facility
Yeah.
or service
Right.
capacity.
Right, that's a good catch, then,
That
so we
would
should,
affect,
provide them.
Same with
Back to
the,
usage.
same with the generators,
Yeah,
the new
they will all check
purchase.
the
Correct.
replacement.
So you've got, in 2017, you're projecting $250,000 for the modular classrooms. That how much did you say it was, 106?
168 rounded off.
That the impact fees could be applied to.
Right, the conversation that we had, we would like to be able to use some of that, but the conversation we briefly had about that, the superintendent felt that it would have to be very fixed, the building that we're putting in. So that's very much in the beginning conversation, really, with us. But I tend to agree with you that that is coming as a result of a new program, that is the result of, we are seeing, growth in the kindergarten.
See, Sue is right, modular classrooms are that, if they didn't have that word modular, so there's a gray area. But there may be an even better way to use that money is doing the engineering and research project that has to be done before you actually buy the modular. So you might be able to use some of the money to do the studies.
Yeah, you can use the money for studies.
Yeah.
For engineering studies
Right.
and other kind of studies.
And if the study just says the modular is better than a stick-built addition, then that's fine, that's what the study proved.
Maybe we should add another,
It can be used for architectural fees, engineering fees, things like that.
if we're purchasing the units, so I get that they're modular, but if we're purchasing them, it's still a capital expense. It's, I mean, a fire truck is a
That's
capital
up to them if
expense.
they're purchasing or leasing it, that's.
Yeah,
I think the
right.
plan was to purchase it, but
Purchase.
again, we're just really beginning to think about it, and also the reason for it. The kindergarten would be definitely a very, something that we'd really be talking to the community about the whole full day and so forth. But I think we added 20,000, to the very end of our schedule, year one to look at fields to tie into Marston, and the following year funds to do it. And maybe, to your point, we should add another 20,000 to discuss, and analyze modular versus stick-built and the whole, slab and so forth.
Yeah, the placement of them and
So add that into that year as well.
Yeah, and, it doesn't have to be all used at once. This is just in an escrow account, but, there's getting towards, when we collected the first initial fees, the 6-year period, which those need to be expended, is coming up in a year and a half. So we just wanna get some planning done to make sure that there's drawdown from those accounts that keeps up with the schedule of time.
Okay.
That's the primary thing.
All that, and when we go back to Bruce Mayberry, through the RSA requirement of every 5 years that we have to reassess these, when he looks at them, he's gonna have to look at what we're actually preparing to spend at some point in the future, and generally they go by the CIP for that.
He'll also look at, in the last 5 years, what have they spent the money for?
Right.
So that could make the figure less, it could, it's until we have the study done, who knows?
Right.
Which actually would point to using the monies for your study sooner rather than later, so that you are using some
Yep.
of your funds.
As well as for a softball field at Marston. I'm happy to help you out with that timing problem, Sue.
well, and maybe, maybe that's a consideration for when you guys talk about phasing.
I know.
That's smart.
How long
I
you
don't know
been in
where
New
that
Hampshire?
came from. I went,
Donna, can you get the softball field done within a year? Because that's what they're looking at, is a year and a half.
There's,
Yeah.
our schedule's a little dated, but the last we looked at this, it was gonna be about $3,300 that would lapse.
Actually, in 2018, it's just over $12,000.
So it's gone up, okay.
Yeah.
So that'd be nice to spend that on the studies.
Well, we've talked about the 6 years, there's a way to get a 7th year in here. In that 6th year, whether it be the town or the school district, if they, and we'll focus on you guys, that's what we're talking about, in that sixth year, at your deliberative session, and then on the ballot, if you said, we're going to do this project and this money is gonna be earmarked for it, that allows us to basically roll the money to the next
Oh,
year.
okay.
It gives us the
Kind of
quote-unquote seventh year.
encumbers it, kind of.
Because we voted to spend the money in the 6th year, you're allowed to carry it for 1 year.
So it kind of grandfathers the,
Yeah, it's
So-
basically like,
Extension.
It's an encumbrance.
encumbrance, right, that's it, I was trying to think of the word.
Yeah.
so we meet again on the 20th, we can discuss this. And maybe add that, I think we should probably add
Yeah.
that
I
to
mean,
our.
because you're looking in 2018, a little over, just under 12,500. You're looking at another, when I was looking at the figures a minute ago, about another 8,500 in 2019, and then 2020 is the big hit. There's like, I think there was like 14 or 15 times 4,200, so that's your,
So, you know, that brings up a really good point as far as, you know, it's not an issue for the fire department because we have the
Yeah, 'cause
bond.
we spend the money
But,
every year.
you know, for the school and how
place.
they factor the CIPs and how you're setting it up for the time frame of it and stuff, especially as it starts to get, you know, and as well as when the wreck comes and stuff. And, yeah, that's something to.
What's the process of using impact fees? Like, once you say, okay,
okay, so we've identified project X
Yeah.
for an impact fee.
yep,
So what happens then, well, we'll use the fire department, because we've been using the money. When the town goes to make a bond payment in July, Betsy then and I sit down, and then we go, okay, how much have we collected since the last time we withdraw? So we come up with that figure.
yeah,
We take it to this board for their vote to request the selectmen to cut the check so basically, we add it to our normal bond payment. In case of the school district, same thing. They have a project they want to withdraw the money in, they would come to this board, request $50,000, making up figures as we go, and then the same thing, this board okays it, and then they would ship it to the selectmen because we hold the actual money
yep,
instead of the school district, so
Yeah.
we would actually cut the check to the school district, earmarked for that, whatever that project would be.
okay,
Yeah. And really, this board, it's a formality, but it's the way the law is set up.
Yep.
Okay, well,
So to make clear, what would be a great recommendation for them to leave here with right now? The fact that spending or having a set idea of where you're gonna spend just a certain amount, if it's 10,000 or 20,000 on a study or something, to have that plan
You
set
wanna
up.
figure in the next, by March of 2018, they really need to spend $12,500, so none has to get turned back.
But what I'm saying for future though, but because then, and you said 2020, there's a
That's-
big
that's-
number.
But if you look at their
They should have,
CIP,
they should have the idea of the studies done ahead of time,
Well-
so that when that time comes, that money's gonna be already allocated and ready to go for something, and
Right,
not doing a
because
study
when-
on
when here's the-
2019 for that.
what year's the modular, Sue?
2017, 18.
Well, you can use the CIP form where it says the sources of funding, you could put in the dollar value from the CIP.
Right, yeah.
What you think you're gonna expend on that.
Right.
Well, and that's also gonna be beneficial for Bruce Mayberry's study.
Right, because he's gonna
Looking
want
at-
copies of all these, yeah, so, but between that, like, they've gotten their CIP in that year to buy the modular and install it. But in the meantime, they still gotta have, civil engineering done, architect, well, not so much architect if it's a modular, but there's gonna be some stuff.
How it ties into the school, how
Right,
it's
so
gonna
they're
sit
gonna, so they'll be
there.
able to use some money for that well before the company delivers the modular building.
But is there gonna be a roof between the building and the modular, so
Yes,
the
there
kids
will
can
be,
walk
but it has
underneath?
to by code, so, yeah.
Okay, so that's part of something
Enclosed
that's gonna
walkway,
be,
yeah.
somebody's gonna have to
So that- see
design
that-
that,
And
that's
so
not gonna be part of the
architecturally, all that,
modular.
we can use money for that and everything like that, yep.
The other thing I'd caution you guys is when you're filling these out, is to be really careful about the type of project marking that you put down. If it's something new, then it's not gonna be replace or repair. you're gonna check off your provided new facility or service, so that when we're looking through these, so that's what I was looking for, was what are the
Yeah.
new things, because I knew that's what you could spend your money on,
Right.
skipping over all of the others.
Yeah, I'll go back to our principal and have him, what I'm hearing is add the CIP as as an option under type of project. Put it in there, and we can check like use or intentional, intents to use that. And then we'll go back and look at replace or repair versus new.
And you may wanna, do you have the most recent, impact fees? So if you wanted to go back and on those CIP forms and fill in where those sources of funds would come from, just so, that way you you're keeping track of it as you're reviewing those CIP forms every, budget cycle.
Yep, I think we could probably get an updated version of this one. The one that we have has a 113,940,
Yeah.
so.
So the latest one that Betsy keeps, our bookkeeper, was as of the end of 2015. We haven't collected any this year, actually. So, I mean, you're looking at, what do we say, rounded off, 168,000, almost 169,000. And out of that, looking at when you have the modular proposed for 2017, you can use the whole 100, I mean, we'll have more in it, but you can use the whole 168,000, but really, and you only need to spend, well, 32,000, like, 22,000, not to lose.
You don't have to spend it all.
No, you don't have to spend it all, but at least the minimum is we're looking at that, so we're not returning any to the property owners.
Okay.
And that figure will cover a lot of the engineering for what little project the modular is.
Right.
I'm gonna echo what was said before. We don't wanna give the impression that we are looking for ways to spend money, that we're saying this money is there. It was set aside specifically for these reasons. So if in your process of doing these things, money is needed, this is what was put there for. But more importantly than what is currently in the fund is getting numbers for Bruce, and again, the impact fee ordinance specifically, or the way it's written in RSA, is it's directly tied to the capital improvement plan. So if the capital improvement plan shows, there's only $200,000 expected for the next 10 years, that's what Bruce is gonna go by, and when he reassesses, the current impact fee, so that would adjust it, down, so making sure that is hammered out as much as possible, so that when we get to Bruce, it's realistic, is important.
What's the time frame to engage with Mr. Mayberry? Is that the individual?
Yeah.
So, we haven't started that process, well, this is part of the process. But we don't have to vote to engage him, we'd like to engage him maybe by March. Is that right, Paul?
Well, it's in the budget, so.
We have it in the budget, so it would be after town meeting in March.
But again, if we wanna give the rec department a little bit more time, then we probably wouldn't start to engage him until, so I think what would be important for you guys is to let us know when you think you've got the CIP, good, and, try to do it sooner than later, and then, so once you get back to us on that, then we know, okay, we've got that switch, and then when the Marston rec says, okay, I think we're good, then we can say, okay, let's get that contract signed with Bruce. So, it would be good to start it by the summer, I would think, June
Yeah,
timeframe.
that sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, to get Bruce in.
Is there
Do
certainly
you
a
think
series of
that's enough?
deliverables you folks needed from us for that
Right.
study, right? I remember in the letter from the last meeting, enrollment capacity, debt service, right? He'll be asking us for several
Yeah,
things.
right,
Just wanna
yeah.
make sure.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, once we engage him,
Okay.
we'll have you engaged with him.
We don't wanna be late or anything.
No.
We actually have a contract that we have not signed yet, stating that he'll start working on the school/fire department with a deadline of June 1st.
Yeah.
In fact, I got an email from him yesterday going, am I getting that contract?
Didn't we decide to delay though?
Yeah, well, I thought I thought you communicated to him that we were gonna hold off. We needed to get some more information before.
Right, I did.
Yeah.
But his email this week, he's getting busy,
Yeah,
so he, you know, he's kind of set that aside for us. He doesn't, if, he's looking for a yes or no.
yeah. Well,
We're not,
The answer, the
he's got
answer
the
is
job,
yes.
we just don't know the date yet.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but we could sign the contract on the fire department and the
Well,
school.
the contract with the fire department and the school district is, him to have it completed and back to us by June 1st.
Well, we can push that date ahead, as long as he gets a signed contract. He's gonna, save the time to work on our project.
Yeah, all he'd have to, we just have to amend that date to
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever.
Exactly.
And then if we decide to add on, recreation, we can do that.
That'll be a separate contract.
Yeah, but we can add it on whenever we're ready.
Right, yeah.
But you had indicated that it's best if we have him do it all at once,
Yeah,
because.
because he's not
He's gonna be
repeating
looking-
himself and,
He's got the complete
yeah,
picture.
because the cost was just over 4,200 to do school and fire and not to exceed 5,000, so round it off, call it $10,000 to do the two studies.
And he probably priced it with the assumption he was gonna do it
Exactly.
all at once.
Yeah, that's what, when we talked, and then, you know, so we've got in our budget, and then the schools, with the 2,500 that the school portion is, they did it
That's for this,
for the
is
the
the year-
renewal,
Payable, I think payable by end of June thirtieth
Right.
is our current budget.
it's
So
our.
right, to get it out of here, right, yeah,
So we'll have to,
find
we'll
those
have to
dollars,
find
right.
those dollars in our current budget.
right.
All right, make a note of that. We
So,
weren't sure if we would be budgeting for for the one that's coming up, that we're working on now.
so from the two things that we saw, I bet you have right here, basically the new generator, which would qualify for for impact fee monies, and the possibility of putting new modulars, which you'd have to do a study for, would be something to get together soon, a cost that you're gonna need to hire an engineer, so that we can put some of that, impact money and get it over to you earmarked, so that shows that you're spending it for, because again, it doesn't mean that you're gonna put modulars up, but you can't get to that stage until you have a study done or, you know, a plan for it to happen. So you might as well use the money soon in order to get that in the process of going, if you feel as a board, is that's a possibility of where the school board might go with a future expenditure of using impact fees. Is that
Yep,
clear?
makes perfect sense.
The third item, that's on towards the end of the CIP, the 2022, where it was a hire architect to kind of assess building needs at $186 per square foot, adding square footage to meet current future programming, so that would fall into it too. If that ends up getting right now it's all to be determined, but if that ends up not being in the TBD and has a dollar value, that could actually be provided to facility or
Ed,
service.
Ed, you
watch your
before
foot.
Tom is Mike.
And we had put the study in for the fields at Marston, but that's out there a little bit, so that's something as well.
Because the big number that's coming up for the money that needs to be spent is gonna be the year 20,000, whatever, 20, when that, we collected a lot of fees in that year, well, 6 years prior to that, that you need to have a plan for it to be spent, or it's a lot of money that's gonna go away, which the school can use, and the town can use, since we've collected it, for that future expansion without putting a bigger hit on the town.
It's excellent guidance. I mean, I really think that you're absolutely right. Why lose this if you clearly have things already planned? It's not like we're just rushing to spend. These are things that
Right.
fit right into the.
And again,
current
this
plan.
is-
That's what the money's for.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly, it's what it's for, it's benefit the town.
right, it helps.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just have a couple more things.
Before you go there,
Yes.
should we do anything on the contract tonight? Seeing as, Paul mentioned that Bruce is looking for some kind of commitment from us.
Does that mean that you're gonna make a motion?
I was asking for an opinion first.
I think it's good to make sure we let Bruce into the loop and make sure he understands where we're at and that we're trying to solidify some information before we,
But as long as we can adjust the date that it actually, that he starts,
right.
it's just a little commitment. That must be your thinking,
You could adjust the date, you don't have to have a specific date, you could do X number of weeks from the date of receiving all of the needed information, right?
Yeah. We could also just do it as a notice to proceed, and with a time frame, so we can sign a contract, provide a later notice to proceed, and then have a time frame,
Yeah.
20 weeks, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
But his quote might have been because it was a slow season for him, and now that it's ramping up,
and we know he's
his value,
the only days in town.
right, he may adjust.
I guess the big question is, you know, when the rec department thinks it will have the kind of the Marston phased.
I think we have to have it by town meeting, to be honest.
Okay, then that makes it easier, then we could say, Bruce, start May 15th. We could put the contract together for him to start on May 15th, just pick a date. And
Why
that
are
allows a
we waiting,
buffer.
why are we waiting 2 months after town meeting?
Because just allowing a buffer in case something happens.
For me, we know, right now, if we were to have him start on it, we don't have most of the hard costs to give to him. I
Right.
mean, the fire he could definitely knock out,
Yeah.
but, the rec is, until we get some hard numbers on that.
The rec
Well, and the school.
and the school.
Yeah, the school, right.
We definitely don't wanna lose that school piece.
So it sounds like it's gonna be a little while.
His original contract was open-ended,
Right.
and you guys felt, let's have a deadline date.
Well, we said there should be a completion date
Right.
for him to complete it by, and I think we had said like so many months after.
Yeah,
this-
and that's
the
where we came up with the
completion of
June, whatever date.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why can't you just have the contract signed and add the caveat of, proceed, will proceed when final figures in from rec and school?
Because he needs to schedule this in.
Right.
He's gotta know.
We're not his only
Okay, then
client.
add it no later than, and then that.
So
date.
maybe Paul does just need to go have a conversation with him
Yeah.
and understand what the impact on his workload is by us delaying it. And maybe that, we'll come back with well, if you give me everything by X date, then I can still do it for you, or, no, I'm gonna have to push it off to the fall, but
Like 90 days, or
then we'll know.
90 or something.
I'm trying to look up when the,
I think he just wants to know if he's got.
Are you
a
in better
contract.
communications with, Bruce
trying to
now,
figure
since
it
you've got a hold of him?
seeing now that we have his new phone numbers, he actually closed
If I'm not
his
gonna get your contract,
street
I'm gonna
office
get somebody
down
else's.
and opened up in his house.
Well, I know the past, I don't wanna know that the phone calls we're making and delaying are gonna go unheard for months before we get a reaction or a response.
So the charge is for Paul to get back in touch with Bruce to see if the timing thing can work with his schedule and the current proposal that he has.
I would say, hey, we're thinking late spring, early summer to start the project. Does that work? Still work for you?
And if so, when approximately do you think you could deliver?
Cause whatever he figures out won't be going into effect till the calendar year of
2017?
2017, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not necessarily.
No,
We would hold a
the
public hearing.
study to keep with school and fire, we need to finish in this calendar year.
Yeah, before the next town meeting, in time to put together any,
But the rec is, that's the other story, the other part of it.
Well, school and fire, if we were just adjusting
Right,
the
we don't
values,
need
we would just hold a public
anything.
hearing
We
and
can
say
do
we're
that
changing the
anytime.
values, we're trying to get rid of them. I think we just
Okay.
hold a public hearing.
Okay.
We good?
yeah, what else did you have, Dirk?
Discussion of adding a public comment section to our meetings. This was a, request by Ed.
Yeah, I thought we hammered out some language on that before. Okay. When we talked about this previously, about just adding a
So is
agenda
every-
item of,
Okay, that's fine. Is everybody comfortable with adding a section in our agenda that allows public to come in and talk planning specific items? It could be general. This would be a limited time, so we give them, we'll post it as a either 3 or 5 minute.
Up to the chair's discretion?
Yeah.
I think that,
Yeah.
you know, if there's only one person and they wanna, and we've got time to
Yeah.
talk with them, then why limit it them? Yeah.
Any- depe-
Up to the board's discretion, so then one of us can make a motion that we,
and again, that's just, it's just to encourage, you know, make us available and friendly to the public, and, you know,
Yep.
make sure people know that they are welcome to come here, where they're elected representatives, and, other towns do it. I know when I was at the Raymond joint meeting, a number of other towns post something like that on there, and they do have language on there that it may just be that they're taking input, and there's no comments back, depending on what it is. If it's about a specific, application, it has to come in at that time, you know, with the public hearing for that, but if it's general concerns or things,
By opening up a comment session, they could ask questions about previous board meetings that we had.
well, we can't talk cases, right?
If the case is closed, no problem, but like, if we have an open case, yeah, we wouldn't be able to talk about it.
right.
Like Ed said, but I mean, they may have come in and asked a question about impact fees, or, you know, if, when, like during the subdivision process, yeah, we had the subcommittee, but they may wanna come in and go, hey, what's going on? A lot of towns do it, we do it at home, both selectmen and planning board do it.
Yeah, I mean, I
Most of
think
the time, nobody shows up at the planning board.
I think we said we'll do it, we'll run it for a trial and see what happens, and if
can always
nobody
change
comes,
it.
then we just go back to, we encourage the public to attend.
Okay,
Let's do it.
so we'll do it. We'll add that to our agenda.
Maybe that
How do
should
you
be
want it
mentioned in
worded?
the newsletter as well.
Just with public input,
I can grab the Raymond's language and send it to you.
yeah, just send it to me and we'll add it to, yep, okay.
The only other thing that I had was a reminder for candidacy. So,
Yep,
who's up?
you and Ed are up this year.
All right.
Filing period starts a week from today, January 20th, and goes to January 29th. That's for all town and school. I shouldn't say school, I don't know that. That's for all town positions,
And we're on, it's on a 3-year period?
3-year period, yep, yep. That's for planning, zoning, select.
1 year and out?
I think that's the
Budget.
only offices would go. I'm not sure if town clerk or tax collector is up. Town clerk wouldn't be, because she was last year. I don't know if Bill's up this year or not. I don't
Board
know.
of Assessors has
Board of
2 for
Assessors.
3 years, Budget Committee
Got it,
has
thanks.
3 for 3 years, Cemetery Trustee, 1 for 3 years, Library Trustee, 2 for 3 years, and 1 for 1 year, Moderator, 1 for 2 years, Planning Board, 2 for 3 years, Supervisor of the Checklist, 1 for 6 years, Trustees of the Trust Fund, 1 for 3 years, and Zoning Board, 1 for 3 years. If I can sidetrack for a second, I skipped over Selectmen, because what's been posted is that there is 1 Selectman position open for 3 years. At our Monday night meeting, Mark Carpenter announced his intention to resign from the Board of Selectmen. And so we are looking at the timing and the process for handling that, so that we can have that second seat voted on, you know, as part of the ballot as well.
So that would be 1 for 1 year.
It will end up being
Finish his
one
term.
for 2 years, because he's the newest.
He just got, yeah,
Just
this
Oh.
is his first year of his second term.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, but we've gotta look at, like, I think in order for it to go on the ballot, then the seat has to have been vacated. So Chris is just looking at how we handle it legally, but there will be, in effect, 2 open positions for selectmen.
I have a couple of quick updates, Mr.
Most
Chairman, if I
experienced
may.
board
Isn't that
selectman.
scary?
Ed, I'm going to assume we're not going to meet in 2 weeks. We have no cases, unless the board has,
Well, there's other things that we have with that to-do list that we had generated.
it's up to you guys.
Yeah.
that would be the second meeting of the month.
Yeah. So we had, and I don't know if this is the updated one, but.
We've scratched a few things off, so we've been doing okay.
Yeah, so one was the budget report review, which we did. Confirming that conditional approvals have been met prior to final signatures, which we talked about. And, review the master plan list. Discuss public outreach, which we did. Capital improvement program, next steps to implement master planning. Site plan reg updates, which is being worked on, right?
Kind of, yeah. Got a little setback when I wasn't here for the last month.
Review, update, planning board rules of procedures?
We do that,
Once a year.
once a year, so what it is
But did we wanna revise them or something?
basically, your bylaws say we have to review them every year, so you just take your current ones you have. Are there any changes? And then that's what we do at the March meeting after town
Yeah, I
meeting.
know.
We can read
but
through them and see if there's
I wonder
any.
if there was something that we thought that,
We might have checked it off, we added language last year, for the alternates.
okay.
Right.
And then I know Sue had mentioned one a couple weeks ago. She'd asked to add one on. So maybe we should review the master plan.
So what do we have in February?
We have a 2-lot subdivision on Mill Pond Road. But they still have another week to turn in applications.
I'm just thinking, do we need to have the meeting in January, or could we do some of our to-do list at our meeting in February and make it
Since we only have one case.
correct? Yeah, because it,
Up to
I
you
mean,
guys.
it's using resources to be here for something. I'd rather have combine as much as we can.
Yeah, no, I
in a
agree.
meeting rather than holding a meeting just to have a meeting to go over a few things.
I'm okay with that. Maybe we have a homework assignment to review the master plan and
Yes.
come to the meeting with some ideas about.
Okay.
I would need the master plan.
Yeah, the board,
When your daughter comes back to work, we'll get it to you.
Thank you.
I'll get it to you,
Is she
Teresa.
coming back tomorrow, or is it next week?
Next week, I think.
yeah, the master plan had a section that was carved out, that was identified by the, master plan committee members for each board with a time frame that, you know, immediate need, long-term goals, things like that, so that's what we had focused on last time and pulled items from.
Okay.
So that's what we would have to go by again.
So you have an electronic version you can send her?
Yeah.
Or you'll send it to her? Okay.
It's real big, so it's gonna be, each section is its own,
It's not posted anywhere?
No, it's on the website. I
Actually,
think
it is on the
by- By
website.
section.
yeah, by
You don't
section.
have to, you don't have to open the
So
whole
what
thing.
is
You
the
can-
section I need to look at?
All of it.
Obviously, I'm not gonna look at.
No, she doesn't have to look at all of it. Well, all we're responsible for is certain sections.
Yeah, that all you wanna, what you can look at, well, you would wanna review the chapters, is there's this chart in the back
Yeah.
that shows you, like, BOS is Board of Selectmen, PB is Planning Board.
Okay.
So, yeah, just look
And
at
then you
them
can go and,
sections.
like, read those specific items.
Yeah, if you have any
That
questions,
would
Teresa,
be
just
interest.
stop in and we'll go over
Okay.
everything.
Thank you.
Just as a quick update to Maple Ridge, they've wanted a pre-construction meeting for the last, 3 weeks. First week I wasn't here, and my substitute didn't want to schedule it naturally. We've actually held them up because they've not met everything that you approved in their plan. And that was, the lot that's on Friar Tuck that they're gonna use for the roadway and stuff. There was gonna be a land added to it from the big lot. They've never done that, never filed a deed for it. So basically, Chris and I made the decision, as well as CMA, who is our engineer in the project. Bill and I talked. Technically, they haven't met all the conditions of their subdivision, so we're not gonna allow them to start building roads.
Well, yeah, if they haven't met it.
Right, that deed is supposed to be filed next week, we were told. Yeah, and, so we'll have the pre-construction meeting in the next few weeks. They have been notified, even though they're gonna build it in phases, they're still gonna post the bond for the whole road. It's about 1.6 million, and they've agreed with that with no issues. Want to update you on that. Real quick, on Flutter Street, that 20 or so lot, we had a conceptual with. I I was told unofficially by somebody that may be cut down to 7 or 8 lots. There's a lot of flagging out there when I looked at it yesterday, but
Wetland flagging or timber flagging?
well, there's a little of both. I didn't walk too far on the property. My health is still, I'm not supposed to be walking outside without my cane, because I'm still, for people that know, I had a small stroke, so I was out for a month at TIA, so. Yeah, this arm is still giving me issues, but pretty much everything else is good.
Consequence of your operation?
No, actually, actually was admitted to the hospital for pneumonia, and then because of, as you guys know, last year I had, in the hospital for all the blood clots in my lungs. Basically, it was, through a small clot. So, I was in the hospital when it happened, so I was very thankful for that, but I just came back to work last week, so. It's all good.
Welcome back.
My stress level's already up again. No, I'm kidding. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
You guys did a good job
Any other
tonight.
updates?
Well, just, are we gonna get minutes? Because we didn't get minutes from the last meeting, so.
And I will tell you, on Sue's behalf, if you'd seen what her desk looks like, and Joanna is coming back, so we'll see if we can help her. Because she's in the middle of still working with our assessing process, and we've had a lot of requests. I shouldn't say requests, complaints over logging operations in town that somehow all end up on her desk.
Okay, just, we've,
Those dang
Right.
timber taxes, what do they think, right?
But, yes, Sue is working on the minutes.
it helps keep our brain remembering what we did,
No,
talked about.
I agree.
But they are in a draft form, so if the public did want them.
You can get them. Hey, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to mention one additional thing. The presidential primary is February 9th. It will be here in this building. We've had conversations about moving the presidential election to the school, but the primary will be here. Moderator is anticipating a large turnout, and so is looking for people who may be interested in helping out that day with crowd control. So if you are interested, contact the moderator.
Get it?
Oh, the new law books came in today.
Oh, jeepers, I left mine in the car because I couldn't fit it in my
And remember
backpack.
last year they were real thin and about this size? This year they're real thick and they stayed the same time. This year they're real thin, but they're about that big.
That's gonna be costing them so much money to revise
And the
it.
thing was, our bill was actually cheaper than last year by a couple of bucks. But we don't, this board doesn't pay all, we break it up between the different boards.
Speaking of the primary, I recommend people go online, you can download, view the ballots now, to get familiar with yourself, because I think it's 28 Democrats.
It's
and
like 20-something and 30 on the Republican side, yeah.
There's a lot of choices.
There'll be a lot of people sitting in the booths
I think
for
they're
a long
alphabetical though, so make
time.
it easier.
How many do you get to vote for?
Just check them all, Buzz, you'll be good.
Do you want your ballot to count?
Oh, has anybody made a motion?
Not yet, I'm waiting.
Everybody ready?
Ready?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.